Hello everyone, Andy here. Asia is one of the greatest linguistic mosaics on Earth. From the frozen tundra of Siberia to the rainforest of Southeast Asia, and from the high Himalayas to the islands of the Pacific, this continent is home to language families as different from one another as Arabic is from Japanese. Today, we're not just skimming the surface, we are going A to Z, exploring the status, the history, and the extraordinary linguistic features of 26 indigenous languages of Asia, some spoken by millions, others hanging on by just a few elders. Let's get started. A is for Atayal, an Austronesian language spoken by the Atayal indigenous people of northern and central Taiwan. The Atayal are one of Taiwan's officially recognized indigenous groups, but unlike most Austronesian languages, it is famous for something unusual, a rich system of verb focus and affixation that marks who does what to whom with remarkable precision. Another well-documented feature is extensive consonant clusters, which are relatively rare in Austronesian languages, and give Atayal a sharp rhythmic sound. There are roughly 80,000 to 90,000 ethnic Atayal, but far fewer fluent speakers, especially among younger generations. Because of this decline, Atayal is generally classified as vulnerable rather than safe. Now, let's hear how they count.
Kotoh, sajing, jugal, bayat, zmagal, matayu, mapitu, masepat, makeru, mapu.
B is for Brahvi, a linguistic mystery spoken mainly in Balochistan in Pakistan, with smaller communities in Iran and Afghanistan. Brahvi belongs to the Dravidian family, alongside languages like Tamil and Telugu. Yet it is found far from its relatives in Balochistan, over 1,500 kilometers away. Scholars agree that this makes it an outlier, but how and when it reached the region is still debated, and no explanation has been universally accepted. Brahvi has hundreds of thousands of speakers, and unlike many minority languages, it is not currently endangered. A key feature is that, despite heavy borrowing from Balochi and Persian vocabulary, its core grammar remains distinctly Dravidian, especially in verb structure. Now, let's hear how they count.
Asit, irat, musit, char, punch, shash, haft, hasht, no, deh.
C is for Chukchi. Spoken in the Chukotka Peninsula of northeastern Siberia, it is the traditional language of the Chukchi people, who have lived in the Arctic for thousands of years. Chukchi belongs to the Chukotko-Kamchatkan family and is famous among linguists for its polysynthetic structure. This means a single Chukchi word can express what would take an entire sentence in English. One especially well-documented feature is gender-based speech differences. Certain sounds are pronounced differently by men and women, a rare and rigorously studied phenomenon in human language. Today, Chukchi has around 5,000 speakers and is considered definitely endangered. Now, let's hear how they count.
Anyan, ngirak, ngrok, ngrak, mlingen, nan mlingen, amlingen, amgrotken, konasinken, manjitken.
D is for Daur, a Mongolic language spoken primarily in Inner Mongolia, Heilongjiang, and Xinjiang in China, with smaller communities in Mongolia. Daur is closely related to Mongolian, but is not mutually intelligible with Standard Mongolian. Linguists note that Daur preserves older Mongolic features, especially in its sound system, that have disappeared elsewhere. The language has around 130,000 speakers, and is generally considered definitely endangered. A distinctive feature is its lack of vowel harmony, which is unusual for Mongolic languages and immediately sets it apart. Now, let's hear how they count.
Nika, Hoiro, Guarbo, Turbo, Tao, Kirwo, Dolo, Naim, Isa, Harbo.
E is for Even, a Tungusic language spoken across vast areas of eastern Siberia, from Yakutia to the Sea of Okhotsk. Even is traditionally spoken by nomadic reindeer herders, and its vocabulary reflects this lifestyle in extraordinary detail. Linguists have documented dozens of specialized terms for reindeer age, color, and behavior, not poetic exaggeration, but verifiable lexical categories. Today, Even has fewer than 6,000 speakers. A UNESCO classifies it as severely endangered. One striking feature is its agglutinative grammar, where strings of suffixes attach to a word like building blocks, each adding precise meaning. Now, let's hear how they count.
Uman, Jur, Ilan, Digen, Tungan, Nyungan, Nadan, Japkan, Uyun, Mian.
F is for Fordata, an Austronesian language spoken mainly on Yamdena and nearby islands in the Tanimbar archipelago of eastern Indonesia. Fordata is part of the Central Eastern Malayo-Polynesian branch, a region known for enormous linguistic diversity. One notable feature of Fordata is its complex possessive system, where different grammatical forms are used depending on whether something is inherently possessed, like body parts, or only temporarily owned. The language has tens of thousands of speakers and is generally considered vigorous, meaning it is still actively transmitted to children. Fordata shows how Austronesian languages can maintain rich grammatical distinctions even without large speaker populations. Now, let's hear how they count.
Isa, irua, itelu, ifat, ilima, inean, ifitu, iwalu, isiwa, vutu.
G is for Galo, a Sino-Tibetan language spoken in Arunachal Pradesh, in far northeastern India. Galo belongs to the Tani subgroup, closely related to languages like Adi and Nishi. One well-documented feature of Galo is its tonal system, where pitch differences can completely change a word's meaning, something unfamiliar to most Indo-European language speakers. Galo has around 30 to 40,000 speakers and is generally classified as vulnerable due to increasing pressure from dominant regional languages. Linguists also note Galo's rich system of verbal suffixes, which encode direction and aspect in fine detail. Now, let's hear how they count.
Aken, aken, ani, aum, appi, ango, akka, kana, kane, pina, pine, kenga, kona, uru.
H is for Khani, a Sino-Tibetan language spoken primarily in southern Yunnan in China, with smaller communities in Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand. Khani is part of the Lolo-Burmese branch. One distinctive feature is its elaborate tone system, with multiple levels of contour tones that play a central role in grammar as well as vocabulary. Khani has over 1 million speakers, making it one of the larger minority languages in China. Despite this, some local varieties are under pressure, so the language as a whole is often described as vulnerable rather than fully safe. Now, let's hear how they count.
7, 2, 3, 2, 1, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
I is for Ibanag, an Austronesian language spoken in the Cagayan Valley of northern Luzon in the Philippines. One distinctive feature of Ibanag is its pronunciation. It completely lacks the H sound found in most Philippine languages, and it uses consonants like F and V more often than neighboring languages. The language has hundreds of thousands of speakers, but younger generations increasingly shift to Ilocano or Filipino. Because of this, Ibanag is generally classified as threatened. Now, let's hear how they count.
Taday, dua, talu, apa, lima, annam, pitu, walu, siyam, mafulu.
J is for Jeju, spoken on Jeju Island, south of the Korean peninsula. Although often called a dialect, most linguists classify Jeju as a separate Koreanic language. because it is not mutually intelligible with Standard Korean. This distinction is widely accepted in academic literature. Jeju preserves archaic vocabulary and grammar that disappeared from mainland Korean centuries ago. Today, the language has fewer than 5,000 fluent speakers, mostly elderly, and UNESCO classifies it as critically endangered. Now, let's hear how they count.
하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯, 일곱, 여덟, 아홉, 열.
K is for Kolami, a Dravidian language spoken by the Kolami people in central India, mainly in Maharashtra, Telangana, and parts of Chhattisgarh. Kolami belongs to the south-central Dravidian branch, related to Gondi and Telugu. One well-documented feature is its inclusive versus exclusive distinction in first-person plural pronouns, a grammatical contrast that tells you whether the listener is included in we. Kolami has around 130,000 speakers, but many are shifting to dominant regional languages. As a result, it is generally classified as vulnerable. Now, let's hear how they count.
Okkod, Inding, Erendi, Munding, Naling, Sendi, Aid, Sadi, Ar, Ed, Emde, Tomde, Pade.
L is for Limbu, a Sino-Tibetan language spoken in eastern Nepal and India's Sikkim and West Bengal. Limbu is notable for having its own indigenous writing system, the Sirijanga script, which was revived in the 18th century after a period of suppression. This makes Limbu one of the relatively few Himalayan languages with a traditional script still in use today. The language has roughly 300,000 speakers. While still actively spoken, pressure from Nepali has led linguists to classify Limbu as vulnerable. Now, let's hear how they count.
Thick, Netsi, Sumsi, Lisi, Ngasi, Tuksi, Nusi, Yatsi, Hangsi, Tibung.
M is for Myakuan, a Japonic language spoken in the Miyako Islands of southern Japan, although often grouped under Ryukyuan. Myakuan is not mutually intelligible with Japanese and is recognized by linguists as a separate language, not a dialect. One striking feature is its extremely complex consonant system, including consonants that can function as entire syllables by themselves. Myakuan has fewer than 50,000 speakers, most of them older adults. UNESCO classifies it as definitely endangered, reflecting rapid language shift towards Standard Japanese. Now, let's hear how they count.
一つ、二つ、三つ、四つ、五つ、六つ、七つ、八つ、九つ、two.
N is for Nganasan, a Uralic language spoken on the Taimur Peninsula in northern Siberia. Nganasan is the northernmost language of the Eurasian continent. Linguistically, it is remarkable for preserving archaic Uralic features that have disappeared from languages like Finnish or Hungarian. A striking archaic feature of Nganasan is its dual number, special noun and verb forms used only for exactly two people or things, a feature lost in most other Uralic languages. Now, let's hear how they count.
Ngoy, Sieti, Nagur, Cheta, Soholanko, Motu, Sieba, Sietizata, Ngamnyakuma, B.
O is for Ormuri, an Indo-European language spoken in isolated pockets of Pakistan and Afghanistan, most notably in Kaniguram. Ormuri belongs to the Iranian branch, but it stands out for preserving ancient phonological features that have disappeared from most modern Iranian languages. Linguists consider it a key witness to early Iranian sound patterns. Ormuri has only a few thousand speakers, and in some areas, far fewer. Because of intense pressure from Pashto, it is classified as definitely endangered. Now, let's hear how they count.
Sa, Dio, Tri, Tsar, Tens, Sha, wo, hash, nah, das.
P is for Palaung, also known as Taang, an Austroasiatic language spoken in eastern Myanmar, with smaller communities in China and Thailand. Palaung belongs to the Palaungic branch of Austroasiatic, making it distantly related to Khmer and Vietnamese. A well-known feature of Palaung is its complex register system, where voice quality, such as breathy versus clear voice, plays a role in distinguishing words alongside tone. The language has several 100,000 speakers across its varieties. While some communities still transmit it to children, others are shifting to Burmese or Chinese. So Palaung is generally classified as severely endangered. Now, let's hear how they count.
U, A, Ui, Hun, Than, Dor, Bur, Da, Dim, Ker.
Q is for Chiang. Linguists explain that Chiang is not a single language, but a group of related languages, and some of them cannot understand each other. Northern Chiang is non-tonal, meaning pitch does not change word meaning, while Southern Chiang is tonal, more like Mandarin. Chiang languages are known for having many consonant sounds, including rare throat-like sounds that are unusual in Mandarin Chinese. Chiang languages were traditionally spoken rather than written, but today, a Latin-based writing system called the Rama script is used to help record the language and support education. Altogether, Chiang languages have about 100,000 speakers, but many varieties are endangered, as younger generations increasingly shift to Mandarin. Now, let's hear how they count.
A, N, S, J, W, T, St, K, Rg, Hdu.
R is for Rungus, an Austronesian language spoken in northern Sabah, Malaysia, on the island of Borneo. Rungus belongs to the North Bornean subgroup. One distinctive feature is its elaborate system of verbal affixes, which encode focus and aspect in ways comparable to Philippine languages. Rungus has around 40,000 speakers, and unlike many minority languages, it remains vigorous, with ongoing transmission to children. It provides a valuable window into older Bornean Austronesian structures. Now, let's hear how they count.
Iso, duvo, tolu, apat, limo, onom, turu, falu, sisam, hopot.
S is for Salar, a Turkic language spoken mainly in Qinghai and Gansu in China. Salar is closely related to August Turkic languages like Turkish and Turkmen. What makes it remarkable is that it has been geographically isolated inside China for centuries, yet still retains clear Turkic grammatical structure. Salar has around 70,000 speakers. It is often described as vulnerable, as many younger speakers shift toward Mandarin. Linguistically, Salar shows heavy borrowing from Chinese, while preserving Turkic verb morphology. Now, let's hear how they count.
Per, Shke, Ush, Ta, Pesh, Alche, Yeje, Sekes, Tokos, On.
T is for Tuja. Tuja is known for a long-standing debate among linguists. It is usually considered part of the Sino-Tibetan language family, but its exact position is still unclear, and there is no single agreed-upon classification. Although there are millions of ethnic Tuja, only a few thousand people still speak the language fluently, so it is considered severely endangered. One notable feature of Tuja is its complex tonal system, which is very different from Mandarin. Tuja also has many unique sounds and grammatical patterns that set it apart from neighboring Chinese languages. Now, let's hear how they count.
La, Nye, So, Ze, On, Wo, Nye, Ye, Ge, La, He.
U is for Uabmeto, also known as Dawan, an Austronesian language spoken mainly in West Timor, Indonesia, and parts of Timor-Leste. Uwab Meto belongs to the Central Eastern Malayo-Polynesian branch. A well-documented feature is its rich system of parallelism, where speakers use paired words or phrases in ritual speech and poetry, an important cultural and linguistic practice across Timor. The language has over 700,000 speakers and is generally considered vigorous, with a strong intergenerational transmission. Despite this, many speakers are bilingual in Indonesian or Tatum. Now, let's hear how they count.
Mese, Nua, Theon, Ha, Nim, Ne, Hiut, Faun, Sio, Boes.
V is for Veda, spoken by the indigenous Veda people of Sri Lanka. Veda is commonly described as a language isolate, though this remains debated. Modern usage is strongly influenced by Sinhala, and the extent to which the original language survives independently is uncertain. There are very few fluent speakers, possibly fewer than 100, and the language is considered critically endangered or nearly extinct. What makes Veda important is that it preserves lexical items and grammatical patterns not traceable to Indo-Aryan, suggesting deep historical roots. Now, let's hear how they count.
Ekamai, Dekamai, Tunamai, Hataramai, Pahamai, Hayamai, Hatamai, Atamai, Namayamai, Dahayamai.
W is for Waki, an Indo-European language of the Eastern Iranian branch, spoken in the Wakhan corridor of Afghanistan, northern Pakistan, western China, and Tajikistan. Waki is remarkable for surviving in some of the highest inhabited regions on Earth. Linguistically, it preserves archaic Iranian features that have disappeared from Persian, making it especially valuable for historical linguistics. It is believed to be a descendant of the Scytho-Khotanese language, once spoken in the Kingdom of Khotan. Waki has around 50 to 60,000 speakers and is generally classified as vulnerable due to increasing dominance of national languages like Dari and Urdu. Now, let's hear how they count.
You, Boy, Troy, Tsubur, Pans, Shad, Hub, Hat, Now, Thus.
X is for Xiong, also known as Xiangxi Miao, a Hmong-Mien language spoken in western Hunan in China. Xiong belongs to the Hmongic branch and is known for its complex tone system with multiple level and contour tones interacting with grammar as well as vocabulary. The language has several 100,000 speakers and is often classified as vigorous, although Mandarin influence is increasing. Xiong is an important representative of Hmong-Mien languages within China. Now, let's hear how they count.
A, U, Bu, Pri, Pra, Tro, Chung, Yi, Tro, Gu.
Y is for Yukagir, spoken in northeastern Siberia in Russia. Yukagir languages form small and independent language family. They are sometimes compared to Uralic languages, but no proven genetic link has been confirmed. Tundra Yukagir has fewer than 100 fluent speakers, making it critically endangered. One notable feature is its complex case system, which uses word endings to show detailed spatial and grammatical relationships. The language also makes strong use of suffixes and often changes word forms rather than word order to express meaning, which is very different from English or Mandarin. Now, let's hear how they count.
Marhon, Kiyon, Yalon, Yalaklan, Imdaljan, Malaylan, Puskiyen, Malaylaklan, Walharam Kuron, Kunilen.
Z is for Zhuang, a Tai-Kadai language spoken mainly in southern China, especially Guangxi. Zhuang is not a single uniform language, but a group of related varieties, some of which are not mutually intelligible. It is closely related to Tai and Lao. With over 16 million speakers, Zhuang is the largest minority language in China. Despite this, many varieties are classified as vulnerable due to strong pressure from Mandarin. Zhuang is also notable for using both Latin-based scripts and traditional Chinese characters in writing. Now, let's hear how they count.
It, ngày, clong, clam, clay, ha, lok, sat, cat, kiu, ship.
And there you have it, 26 indigenous Asian languages. For many of them, the numbers are alarming. But just as real is the resilience of the communities keeping these languages alive, through education, documentation, and everyday use. So which feature stood out to you most? Was it Chukchi's sentence-length words? Jeju's survival as a separate Koreanic language? Or the way Brahvi preserves Dravidian grammar far from its linguistic homeland? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this A to Z deep dive into Asia's indigenous languages, don't forget to like and subscribe for more explorations into the world's cultures and languages, because every language matters, and I'll see you in the next one.